Yeah, I think my sister sent a video where it's basically people from Italy saying what they wish they had known 10 days earlier before the virus hit. And I haven't actually looked at it yet, but I will soon. Hopefully not in 10 days. Okay. So basically if your immune system can fight it off like early on, you're set. Is that the kind of the idea? Hmm. Right. Yeah. People that are I mean you can be asymptomatic and also and be and not realize for like 4 days, but then be spreading it around. That's the big danger for it. Because if you're sick and you know it, you're more inclined to be a little bit more careful. But if I got it tomorrow and then was carrying it around for 4 days, I'd probably end up infecting people around me. But if I knew, but I mean, even if let's say like I had a test, like I wouldn't take the test being asymptomatic. Right. Right.
Sorry.
Uh oh.
Nope. Nope. I just aspirated. That's all that was.
Yeah. My mom has a cough as well as like this thing that she's going to the doctor for, and my my wife's like, "All right, you're staying on your side," because like we share like a duplex type situation.
Uh huh. Yeah.
So she's like, "You're
Quarantine
staying
yourself
over
over
there."
there. Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's just a cough, because like none of us want to have compromised immune systems when like if something happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
I
doing
think
the.
it's 4 days. Sorry, I'm sorry, Rob. What?
Oh, that's okay. 4 days. What?
Emlo's asking, what's the time frame for you to know? Like,
I've heard incubation anywhere from 4 to 14 days. So,
yeah,
but
so
usually
that's a
four
long
days
time.
before something shows up for sure. Yeah. And I was listening to one doctor, and he says that and this is going to be non-scientific because I'm paraphrasing, but They were doing some studies for folks who were suspected of having the virus in Germany, and they did a throat culture like right the moment that they showed any symptom at all. So perhaps it would have been on the fourth day. And the throat culture showed they had like 10 times more virus in their throat than if they had done a similar throat culture in a similar time frame with influenza. So they're saying it's
So what does
just
that mean?
it means that when it's in your body, it multiplies ultra fast.
Uh-huh.
It starts spreading and multiplying like 10 times faster than influenza would.
Right. So it's just extremely populous.
Yeah.
It's like the Zerg in StarCraft.
Yes, it zergs the system. Hey everyone. I've got some folks dropping in on my channel. I thought streaming this time of the day would be kind of quiet for me, but got some folks saying hi. So hey everyone, good to see you guys. So Bodhi got an ad and just a black screen. Yeah, sometimes that ad doesn't let go, I think, so you might have to reload.
Oh yeah.
And then get another ad. I made 6 cents off of advertising though last month. Oops.
Nice. When you play ads,
No,
like, do you play them at the beginning always, or do you?
I
What?
never play ads, so the ads go whenever Twitch decides to run an ad.
Well, if by default it'll play an ad when you first start the channel. Did you enable that, or did you disable that? Because by default it's enabled.
I don't remember disabling that, so it might not be disabled.
Right. Yeah. Nice.
Cake and Cat, thank you for that follow. So welcome aboard. I do D&D creatures and commissions and monsters and all that kind of stuff. So today I'm inking a commission. It's a deep gnome trickster type character. And I'm sharing a stream with Connor Hughes. So he and I are chatting through Discord. But if you want to check out his channel, it's Connor Hughes, CONORHUGHES. And he draws a fantastic comic book, White Ash. Maybe he's just a
Here, I'll give
fantastic
you
artist. Yeah, I should just
I'll
link it, right?
give you the Khadgar. I got it in my channel. If you want to drop it in, then
Okay.
yours. Oh, actually, here we go. Boom. There you go.
Yeah, I'm still low tech. Oh, you got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Hey, Bodhi. Yeah, Mlo, you think it's a matter of if you have a fever, not to use Tylenol? I mean, I don't know why. That'd be strange. Like, the Tylenol would make it worse versus, like, say, NyQuil or whatever, some other brand name.
Not to use Tylenol, that's a new one to me. Did they say why? Because over here, Tylenol is used heavily to control fever or to help bring it down.
By over here, you mean in your household?
Well, I mean, in America.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But like, yeah, anytime we got a fever here, the docs are always like, that's their first thing. Take Tylenol and try to bring the fever down.
Right. So I have a veterinarian cousin, and so I got him to explain to me, how Tylenol works. And so basically, it's like hitting the reset button on your temperature system. And so I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is.
You need to look it up, but it's the anti-inflammatory. Charlie, are you just trying to sow misinformation, or are you genuine in that?
the anti-inflammatory of Tylenol is the issue, but I didn't think Tylenol was an anti-inflammatory.
I think Tylenol has ibuprofen in it.
Oh, really? I did not know that, so I learned something new today.
So in that article, it's saying you should use Tylenol, not Advil. Nope. I read an
I don't know.
article or years ago where it was talking about just this person that was a medical miracle where he was in the hospital with blood alcohol poisoning, and it was like 90%. They took his blood, and it was 90% alcohol percentile, and they were wondering how he lived. I wonder if that'll kill the corona.
Yeah, how do you get 90 percentile on alcohol? That is deadly.
Yeah, I think anything over like probably 5% normally kills most people. I think the test was inaccurate, but it makes for a funny story.
Yeah, yeah, I bet.
I feel like Tylenol has acetaminophen,
It does. I know that's the main ingredient that I knew of anyway.
because we were listing off the ingredients to my cousin the other day, the other month or so.
Hey Tim, how you doing? Sci-fi guy. Hey Tim, can you give me a little explanation on how you want this book to look? Because I know your description said there was a snake um, element that wraps around it. Can you explain that one a little more, please? A chance? No rush.
Sure, Charlie. Sorry about that.
Oh, I can
No,
actually.
no, you're good. I already got you. If you adjust, then that's gonna like change what I did.
Well, I know I boosted my mic on my end for someone the other day. So, folks in my channel, is my mic too loud? Because according to my meter, it's on the loud side. So I think I want to turn mine down anyway. Yeah, but thanks for letting me know, Charlie. All mics seems fine. Okay, guess we're okay. So Tim, do you want the use this? Do you want the whip to be more spiral like this on the cover? So Charlie, how's my levels? Is it okay? Okay. Thanks, Tim. Busy morning. I feel like I'm cramming into your stream, Connor. Sorry.
Not at all, man. Aside from anything, it's also probably an off day for me because I had to do that appointment run. So I was starting late with all my things.
Mm-hmm. So, folks in chat, are there folks here now that usually aren't here this time of day? In other words, is your self-imposed quarantine allowing you to spend time watching streams today, right now, that you would normally do at a different time? Or is everyone here at their normal time? All right, Tim, gotcha. There's a CADGAR link if you want to watch both streams. CADGAR's fun because it'll just play both streams on the same browser window. And if you haven't had a chance to check out Connor's channel, I recommend.
Thanks, Rob.
Connor's a fair artist. He's still learning, but he's getting better every day.
Yep. Still living that struggle.
So just so everyone knows, that's a joke. Connor's amazing.
Thanks, man.
I will say that this commission that I'm working on now is a step, finally a step towards where I want my art to go. Just with all the line art stuff, and a lot of the line art is same weight, so I still got to work on my line weights. But I don't know, I really like it, and I've been getting good response for it, so pretty happy.
Good. Thanks, Kigo Doodles. Appreciate the follow. I definitely like the cape action you got going on with your cross hatching there.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, a little bit of an experiment, but I'm like, you know what? It's pretty cool because when I see artists that I admire, now they do things much more skillful, but they do a lot of line work that sort of just adds interest, but it's not that important. Like they might hatch or cross hatch way more than I would consider. It just looks really cool. So on this one, I'm like, I'm just going to put in a lot of line work and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still going to be fully colored. So see how all that works together.
Right.
Be fun. After this commission, I've got another commission to draw sort of a Japanese style samurai mask. that a girl at work is going to have tattooed on her arm.
Whoa. Cool. Hey, Lawrence. How you doing today?
Kigo, no, we are not in the same time zone. I'm West Coast and Connor's East Coast.
Yeah, I'm feeling that vibe too, Lawrence. Myself had some extra errands to run or whatever this morning, and kind of caught me.
You go fight each other? What do you mean by that?
I think it's like Pokemon style.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in, but I still don't get it. Like how? For attention?
Obviously, to the death, we battle it out at the end of the stream. That's how this works, right?
Hey, Connor understands. I'm the thick one. I don't get it.
Oh, East Coast versus West Coast, right?
Yeah.
Gotta have a rap battle. But don't worry, East Coast is gonna win because East Coast has way better rap.
I am not a good representative of West Coast rap, so yes, East Coast gonna win.
I accept that I am totally a good representative of East Coast rap, as everyone in the stream could probably tell just
Is it so
by
obvious?
yeah, just by looking at me.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say anything because I'm not racist, but it comes right out for Connor.
Yeah, I just got that big style.
That joke getting old.
I think it's about done. It's about run its course.
All right, I won't do it anymore.
Wait, which one? Oh, are you referring back to the Cazador?
Yeah.
Cazador. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get that. I thought we were just yeah riffing. I don't know if the joke has run its course or not. Three days on lockdown has you all cooped up. Yeah.
Ego, where are you at again? I know you told me last time, but I don't have a very good memory. All right, Tim. Yeah, off and on, no problem. I'll be here for a couple hours now, and I'll take a break to do some chores, and then come back later today. So there'll be plenty of chance to watch me work on your piece, or just hang out. Take. Both Connor and I are using Clip Studio Paint. I specifically use Clip Studio Paint because I love the inking engine. I think it inks better than any of the other applications out there right now. I don't think it's as strong as a painter as, say, Photoshop, but I think it's a much stronger ink application. Connor, what's your reasoning on using Clip Studio Paint?
I mean, it's got a lot of conveniences as far as comics go, right? Because it's got like a page tool, it's got the frames. I mean, even if I didn't really draw in Clip Studio at all, it would still save me time by having it just laying out the frames, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty nice tool. Very intuitive.
I mean, and specifically being able to just drop in, your equal borders and stuff like that. Um, that's it's annoying to do in Photoshop.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't done any comic book pages, but I know the tool you're talking about. But I totally agree. If I weren't drawing, I would probably still use it just for that tool. Super.
Then on top of that, it's got the perspective tool, which is very very handy. I mean, I've seen some alternatives in Photoshop that do those things,
Yeah.
but they're always plugins, so they're always third party. So, and they never really work nearly as well for whatever reason. Like, yeah, I mean, I've tried them. I tried them before. They're just awkward, much more awkward. And in general, Clip is used for it's designed by people probably, or at least the project started as for mangas. So the emphasis is on how to do something, with speed.
Yeah.
And so that helps a lot too.
Yeah, Procreate's super popular right now. Are you drawing on an iPad? One of the programs, I don't know if it's Procreate or one of the other ones, uh, has an amazing perspective tool. I haven't mastered Clip Studio Paint's perspective tool. I'm sure it's awesome, but it seems kind of tough to deal with sometimes. So
That's the easiest one I've found. I'd be open to see if like someone found something that's easier, but I mean, I really coming from someone that has just done perspective traditionally on paper
yeah,
before experiencing the Clip Studio Paint perspective tool. I'm just like, holy crap! How can life get any easier? You really, just can't complain.
yeah. I think my only complaint per se is sometimes the lines, when you get a 3 point perspective, sometimes the lines have a hard, uh, it's hard to get the right perspective line. Like if you want a vanishing point, sometimes it goes to the vertical perspective line versus the vanishing point, little things like that.
Yeah, that can be frustrating, and typically if you exaggerate the motion,
Yeah.
it'll work. Yeah, I can see that. If that really matters when you've got very minimal differences between your perspective lines, right? Like if you're working something with something that's very close to the horizon line, and then it can't tell whether you're not, and those lines are also the vanishing points are also very far from your panel. The difference will be fairly minimal.
Yeah. It just occurred to me that if I adjust the guide lock distance, that might help it out. Maybe my guide lock distance is too strong.
Guide lock. What does that mean?
There's a preference in there that you can set it up like, if you're within 8 pixels of a guide, it'll snap to the guide or something like that. So
Oh,
I think that might be something I can toy around with.
I didn't even know you could do that.
And I'm pretty sure, I don't think I've got my apps confused, but it could be. What's that? Is it Sketch Pro? I think that's the one that has an amazing um, perspective tool. The one that Autodesk has.
I don't know. I've never used a 3D program like that. Really,
No,
besides SketchUp.
it's actually a drawing program like Procreate.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Sketch Pro. There used to be a 3D app called Sketch, but I think nowadays they're using it as just the drawing name.
Sketchbook Pro. I never used that either. I'll admit, like Clip Studio Paint was the first one I saw with a perspective tool, so I don't have an experience for other ones.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Clip Studio Paint was more powerful.
What is Lawrence? Doom.
SketchUp.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's great. In my audio, yes, Giga Doodles. In probably Shep's, maybe there's none.
Correct. Only Conrad's music today.
So you probably have like one. You have audio on one person, obviously, because otherwise you'd be hearing two audios of the same thing. So on Cadgar, you're gonna have one. You probably have one audio set on. Like if you hover over the videos, one will have a strike through the sound icon, and the other won't. That is funny. Behind loggers. What are loggers? I mean, as in people who manage wooden logs or what? Because I keep on thinking bloggers, but probably not. That is funny though. That's cute.
Are you ready for our good old D&D game tomorrow?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll miss Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. When I'm out delivering, I listen to a lot of YouTube videos of the D&D folks, different channels talking about character builds and monsters and rules and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, I really miss the game. I had a great fun with Left 4 Dead, but I miss our D&D game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be good. Look forward to finally taking out Bartholomew Blackhand.
Yeah, he's set to wake up this round, and he's not dead yet. We have to be careful with it.
You could probably just stun him again, I assume.
Yeah, I was thinking of, or we can just take him out, hit him while he's
Yes,
down.
obviously the best status effect that you can inflict is always death.
Yeah. But we still got those mages to contend with. And I still
Well,
feel like,
as the professional low roller on initiative rolls, I never have to worry about that because I'm always just last.
yeah, you just like, whatever. That's good though, because you can take a reactive position, right? And just adapt to what's going on.
It's good, but it's bad if it happens after the enemy.
Yeah. Well, there's a feat called Alert that gives you like +5 to your initiative. So buy into that.
If he ever gets any kind of stat bonuses or like any more levels, I mean, he has to get more strength and more charisma. Like these are the big things. I think pretty much he always has to go straight for the double stats
Yeah.
from now on. Because really, like the +5 from potential from going into your charisma is really good, and then to hit, he needs the strength, and plus 2 isn't really enough.
No, especially for later on, right?
Yeah.
What +5 because of charisma? What do you get? Is that a character thing or class thing?
Well, I'm saying like if you need like to get +5 is very useful.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it right now. He's got a +3, I think. A +5 would be 20, like a 20 stat.
Yeah.
So to get, because right now he's at 15 strength, and then 18 charisma. No,
Which character?
no, it must be 16 charisma.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think pretty much every single feat, like level or whatever, where you get those attribute points, needs to go towards stats.
Yeah.
Because at least like a 3 or a 4+ strength, and then 5 charisma would be like really good.
Gizmo's gonna get. I don't know. I don't know if I've got crossbow expert or sharpshooter, but I've got one of the two, and then he's gonna get the other one of the two, and then he'll work on stats after that.
Did you see that Iron Man uh, artificer?
I don't. I don't know if I did or not. It sounds familiar, but I can't swear that I've seen it.
It's like a new subclass for the artificer,
Oh, I did not see that then. Okay, yeah, I have to take a look at that.
and you can basically literally be Iron Man. You get the ability to have a magical suit of armor that lets you like tank like a boss, and I don't know, punch and stuff. And I think it can even fly at higher levels or something.
I love variety in the classes, but I kind of feel like they're going crazy.
A lot of people complain about 5e because they feel like there's not enough, and they compare it to 3.5. So I think they're trying to like appease that.
Yeah.
Not a fan of Marvel D&D.
Yeah, Lawrence.
So what about it makes it Marvel D&D? I haven't played any other versions, so I don't really have a you know a horse in this race. So explain to me like what don't you like about it? Because from a design perspective, I really appreciate the way it's designed. Like it's a little bit more minimal than previous editions. Hey, Chai, how's it going? Clap, clap, clap. What about? Did you get you have your story written out? Oh yeah! Congratulations. That's great, Chai. That's gotta feel good. See, Lawrence, it's funny. Like I know someone that's coming from 3.5, and they complain basically endlessly how they feel like the the starting stats that you get are just so bad that they feel like your characters are just are way underpowered. Details and do some character design. Awesome, Chai. That's gotta feel really good. Next stop, Webtoons prize time.
Yeah, Lawrence, that's pretty funny getting one shot by a rat. Yeah, I think that's the one complaint I hear about the system is that it's hard to die. I mean, you can die, your characters can die, but it's pretty hard. You get so many chances to come back and survive it.
I mean, you get 3 chances. It's not that many.
It's
And you
just
can still get one-shotted, right? Like, if they do 3 times your health or something like that, or I don't know, like twice or
no,
something.
I don't think that's a rule.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
they can if they knock you to zero, that's one. If they hit you during the same round, then that'll take out a death save. And then if you're hit in the next round, that'll take out the last death save. So you can get killed in 2 rounds, or if more than one monster hits you in the same turn, right? You could die in 1 round.
I don't know, I'm pretty sure you can insta get killed. Because, like, that was the threat at one point. Because I think, actually, that actually technically happened to Runa. Like, Runa should have died because she got one-shotted from the damage when we were in the, like, cave mountain thing in the first, like, adventure.
Yeah.
Yo, man, Civil, how's it going? Are you working from home today? Man, I work from home from 2 weeks. Nice. Well, do you like that, or do you not like that? Yeah, I think it does need to be in its own Lawrence. But you could probably take a comic that, say, you're working on, or is a normal, um, looking comic, and then convert that into webtoons. But I wouldn't recommend starting with the webtoons thing and then converting that. Be a lot easier to work backwards from the comic. Gotcha, old man Sybil. Cool. Yeah, Lawrence. Well, I mean, I would say if you were using Photoshop, it would be a lot more sluggish. Like Clip Studio is pretty good about resource management compared to Photoshop. I mean, maybe use a different brush. You're probably using something with a high texture, and maybe it's not such a good idea on a tablet. Use Photoshop on your tablet. Darker pencil, yeah, that's what I use. That's a good point, Jai. It could be like pen setting, because if you set the correction very high, it'll do that.
So I'm using. I don't know. You can tell me how yours is compared to mine, but I use an XP pen, and there's definitely a lag for my brush. So my tip, and then the tip that's actually doing the drawing, there's a little bit of lag. And for me, I'm just getting used to it because it's just the way it is. But do you see that lag, or does your line stay with the tip of your pen like really fast?
Yeah, I mean, there's several factors because I use Lazy Izumi and also using whatever filters that are going on in Clip Studio. So there's some interfacing between the pen tool and what I'm drawing. Um, but yeah, no, it stays pretty quick. I don't know. I think on the XP pen. So what I found on the Huion was that because of the thickness of the glass, you've got a lot of what's it called?
Parallax.
Distance between your pen tip and your cursor.
Yeah.
Um, parallaxing. Sorry, I didn't understand what you said the first time. So yeah, there's a lot of parallaxing. So that can cause that illusion of delay. But I mean, I don't know. Your system's pretty. I guess your system's lagging when it comes to the streaming, or it was with the other programs. So it could be your system.
Part of it is the speed of the stroke too. So I've actually slowed down my draw strokes to adapt to the tablet and the program, and that helps a lot. So I can't just draw as fast as I could with a pencil. But yeah, it's just something to get used to. I don't think it hinders me necessarily, just different.
But are you sure it's not a correction thing? Have you tried looking at your correction settings?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about with the correction settings, and it definitely slows down, unless you're talking Lawrence. Yeah. I've got my correction set really low so that there's almost no lag because of that. So, yeah, correction can slow any brush down.
Yeah.
Another consideration on my end is that I do draw everything at 600 DPI. So of course, that'll take some resources to be able to do.
Do you work on color layers? Color
Yeah.
layers?
Yes.
For your black and white layer, you could convert it to a grayscale layer. That could help.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't done that. So I should try converting that.
Yeah, for sure. That makes a big difference.
We'll see what happens right now. Yeah, that's a noticeable difference. Good tip. That's one thing I love about Clip Studio Paint is that you can convert a layer to a gray layer only or back to color with just a click of a button.
Right.
That's pretty
That's really good.
handy. And I love how you can colorize layers, right? So that expression color, you can set up a different color. You know what I mean? So that all of the black uses a color that you assign. That's freaking amazing too.
Yeah, I mean that's how I do my blue line, red line
Yeah.
layers. It's all just that exact tool. Yeah, I like it because it's just. I mean, you can do the same thing in Photoshop, but it just requires a few more steps, which I guess you could you could make into actions. But
Yeah. Connor, do you make your black layers grayscale or monochrome?
Grayscale. Yeah. The purist in me sort of wants to like just have absolute monochrome. But really, like if you look at a lot of professional pages, no one does that anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I've noticed that too.
Like so, like in college, it would be it has to be black, it has to be black, it has to be black, and like you strive to have that on your inks, and then you would obviously do all the Photoshop tricks to make sure that it was 100% black, like doing just bitmap at 1200 dpi
Mm-hmm.
and all that. But nowadays, printers are so good. Well, it doesn't really like matter that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I specifically made my inking brush not 100% black so that it mirrors a little bit more of what I see, with natural brushes.
Right.
Because, it doesn't have to be 100% black. But I think in the old days, right, they wanted it 100% black because the color separations just made it way easier to print the piece because you didn't have a dot matrix of black over the other colors. Just overprinting to cover up mistakes and stuff. And now they don't need to overprint quite as much.
Yeah. Well, it was the four color process printing, and so all the inks were printed with the K, and I think that's probably why.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm also reading here Kiko Doodles. So you're saying it's because modern printing is different. I prefer the alias as well. How do you mean by the alias? Like anti-aliasing you're referring to, or you're referring to something else?
The alias would be the monochrome layer versus the gray would be an anti-alias layer.
Really?
Yeah.
The blurred edges on the brush. Okay, so you want anti-aliasing on the brush, because aliasing would mean like rough.
I think that's another reason why I use Clip Studio Paint because they have like 4 levels of anti-aliasing on your stroke. It gives you the option of adding as much as you want. I know my brushes use only just whatever the first layer is, so just a slight amount of anti-aliasing.
Mm.
That way the lines still look sharp, but they're not so jagged. I laugh sometimes because I'll spend so much time tweaking a brush and I'll get it to a point where I'm like, that's perfect. I'll never have to touch that brush again. Then a month later, I'm like, well, let's do a 0.2 tweak or something like that. And I do these little micro adjustments.
Yeah, I do the same. It's a bit of a nightmare when it comes to like trying to keep consistency across the book.
Ah, yeah.
So you gotta be pretty careful. Like with the illustration, you get to sort of
Sure, you can hide
mess
it.
around
Yeah.
every piece, right?
Yeah.
Every piece you get to but with a comic book, you got to keep a consistent style. So got to balance those two things. Did I talk to you about brushes, Lawrence? All right, I won't talk to you about brushes. So brushes, Rob. What? What is your favorite brush?
I don't use that many brushes. I use I use a couple blue pencils, a couple regular pencils, a couple pens. I do have some brushes, but I almost never use those. I use a couple for my form shading and a couple for my ink wash, and that's it.
Hmm.
I don't want to go down the brush rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I will someday. I know what I'm really missing is a good texture brush, but I haven't taken time to actually just make one yet. But I could use a good texture brush.
Yeah, that's why when I dip into Photoshop for, there's a lot available there, and
Yeah, just convert it over.
or I just use it. I just
Yeah.
use Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
The main trip up is all the shortcuts are like slightly different, and you can't adjust the brush size adjuster in Photoshop to what I'm used to, which is 1 and 2 on the keyboard. So I'm always hitting 1 and 2, which lowers the opacity. So it's just like it's like the opposite. So it's really annoying.
Ego uses brushes for fast textures when coloring. Yep. I should know his name, but you know the artist. I feel bad. I should look up his name. But you know the artist that draws the mouse guard. I love I
Yeah,
love how he uses texture brushes when he's doing coloring. Looks amazing.
I thought he watercolors a lot of his pieces.
The stuff I've seen online has been digital. I mean,
Okay.
he may, but I think it's digital. He's got a technique that just looks fantastic, and it looks like it's watercolor.
Hmm.
But he's really consistent, and like you said, he has to be consistent because of a comic book or a series or anything like that. And it's sort of his colors are low key colors, but they're still colorful. Not too much saturation. A lot of transparency. Yes, it's David Peterson. Thank you. But yeah, his beautiful work there. Yeah, Kigo. There's definitely a time for texture brushes, and I will evolve into them sometime soon. Because I think even when I'm coloring, a lot of my colors are kind of flat. They could use an extra oomph.
I will say I have a very strong natural sort of the opposite of the word affinity, anti-affinity.
Anti-affinity, yeah.
For like using a lot of texture brushes because I feel like you're just sort of like layering up effects or whatever, and just doesn't feel like drawing. But it's probably a bad like a habit to think that way. Because yeah, I mean, like I used some texture brush on the Kickstarter banner for the background, and I thought it came out really, pretty well, and it works. It works to just sort of like you know fill up that space, and it looks good, looks interesting, but it's also like not that complex. It's not like a drawing, and it's like really quick compared to just laying down a black layer. Well, it's slower than that, but it's really quick. Just like adding for relative to compared to like say cross hatching or something like that.
I'm gonna leave pretty soon.
Okay.
I'm with you a lot. I wanna draw my textures as opposed to having a texture engine help me out. On one hand,
Hmm.
but I see both sides. Is when I watch traditional artists using paintbrushes and stuff, you realize how many textures they get just because if they're using the correct brush.
Yeah.
So I see both sides, and I've gotten to the point, honestly, where I don't care as much anymore. It's just great art is great art, but I still lean towards I'd like to be able to draw it myself first.
Right. In general, like I think the great art is the right mentality. Like to some degree, that's it's like a purist mindset
Yeah.
that gets in the way of just being creative. That is to say, like not having the attitude that great art is great.
Yeah, I just look at as I treat it as their style is different. So you know those concept artists that do photo mashing,
Hmm.
and that looks amazing. So I just consider that a completely different art style, and that's just not what I do. But it looks great, and those guys are skilled and they're creative and they do amazing work,
Right.
and they're just
And work under tremendous deadlines.
oh yeah, yeah. Lawrence, yeah, that's what I meant by I don't want to go down the rabbit hole because there's so many brushes to pick from. And I'll be honest, I'll get a brush and I'll do a stroke or two, and I'm not smart enough to figure out where I would use that brush. I'm like, okay, it's a texture, but I would never use it. But then I see other people use it, and I'm like, oh, of course, that looks amazing.
Yeah, I'll see like I'll know a brush, right? Like in a Photoshop brush, and then I'll see it in someone's work. And I'm like, oh, I can totally tell that's that brush.
Ah,
And then
okay.
in the end, it doesn't really matter. But you sort of see what other people can do it, and you can learn from that, and that's good. But you're also kind of like, well, you just did that with that brush. I don't know. It's
Yep.
at the same time, you could say the same thing about real life brushes. So yeah, 6 to 1, half dozen the other.
So I think the one type of brush that I avoid even more are like the image hoses, so you could put in 5 different tree shapes and then start drawing your forest background with an image hose. I do try
Right.
to avoid those.
Although I see artists doing that effectively, like the guy who works on Outcast does that,
Yeah,
and it works really well. But you can tell he's using like a tree brush.
yeah. I use it in my when I'm doing the maps. And I would use it. I mean, I'm not saying I would never use it. I would use it. If I was drawing a forest, I'd be like, okay, can I get away with drawing this with an image hose and would it look good? And if it looks good, that's cool. But if it looked repetitive, then I'd probably do something else. I think that would be the definition for me. Is as long as it looks natural, you can use an image hose. You know what I
Right.
mean? So if you do a good enough job, it just looks good.
And but the secret there is layering up your texture brush. It's like not relying on just one texture brush to get you all the way there. Like, oh, I've just got a texture brush,
Yeah.
and then I stick with that, and then that works for me. Instead, you have like a toolbox of texture brushes that you do a little bit here, a little bit there, a little fuzzy there. It's also very different. The laying down texture brushes, it's much more like painting because you're going in very lightly and very heavily at different points, and you have to treat it more like you're painting. Like I just said.
Yeah. Ego says, when you have deadlines, any trick will do. We're all striving to be as good as Bob Ross. Ego, I will say, not to the style that Bob Ross was doing, and the German artist that did it before him. Um, they're skilled artists without a doubt, but I was doing artwork using their techniques pretty quickly. So it's really easy to learn. Again, if you've got the right brush and you do their techniques, you realize how much the human imagination or the human eye fills in all the blanks for you. Um, but yeah, they're I don't know what their rendering skill was like or illustration skill was like, but when it comes to just putting paint and doing landscapes, the techniques that they were using, it really makes it easy to do. And of course, like any artist, they master their craft and they take it beyond, what comes natural. But I had some art that was looking pretty damn good for a beginner using that stuff, that technique. Very user friendly.
To some degree, like I think there's a certain kind of masochistic element to a lot of artists where like we just want to go the more difficult path because you're like, oh well, you can learn it real quick and then you just get it. It looks really good, and then imagination fills in the blanks. And I'm with you on that. At the same time, though, like, what's wrong with that? Not nothing, nothing really. It just means you're getting it done fast, right?
Yeah.
And people are happy.
I think, as you have mentioned and many people have mentioned, and I've mentioned in other streams, a lot of times techniques like that might develop because of deadlines. And I think the deadlines kind of force people to get creative in their presentation and their art.
Right.
And, we know it happens in comic books. A lot of comic books drawing styles really develop because they're trying to meet those deadlines. Kirby's the perfect example. I think his style developed because he was expected to draw 5 pages a day. So he's all like, well, if I got to do that many pages, I've got to simplify the art style.
Yeah.
And then it turns into something like amazing because then he mastered that art style and took it further and further. And you're like, oh my gosh, how do you even get to this place?
Right. It becomes a language in and of itself.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
necessity
Mirka,
breeds
it can
invention.
definitely be a double-edged sword. Like if you, I mean, obviously, like deadlines can cramp your style so much or whatever. They can be so much of a limiting factor that they can destroy it too. It really depends on the deadline. I think it also depends on the artist, right? Like Kirby, if you gave Kirby like a million hours to work on a piece, like he get bored. I mean, that would be my expectation anyway. That he would get bored. He'd just be like, okay, I'd rather just be working on the next thing." Meanwhile, you give like Da Vinci a million hours to work on something, or Michelangelo, and you got the Sistine Chapel.
I would agree with that. From the videos I saw of Kirby, you could tell he was living the stories as he drew them.
Right.
He was really into them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're up against a certain kind of deadline wall, there are deadlines that no person can really, you know, reasonably output fast enough to like meet. But most of the time, in my case, like that's not really the issue.
I don't think I'd be able to meet any real deadlines. I'm so slow. I admired guys who are drawing day in, day out.
Well, if you give yourself the opportunity to get faster, like you might, right?
Yep.
If you've got all these other responsibilities that you're dealing with, it's very difficult to acquire the skills necessary to attain that level of like speed or whatever, or like anything of that nature.
Too.
That's why I'm half like if people want to pursue art, rather than getting a degree, it almost makes more sense to take out a loan and pay your rent, pay your food, and then give yourself, like a 9 to 5 or more than that shift of art every day where you're like learning and you're taking online courses and stuff. And as long as you stick to that, you'd probably do really well. You'd become a lot slower VDM. Also, I think ideally you will get maybe slower, but you also get more efficient. Like my pencils on this chapter rather, are looser, but I think they're more competent or whatever because they're more efficient. than say issue 1, because I'm focusing on making sure that what's on the page looks good, and ideally better than what was on the page issue 1.
How long on average are you doing pages?
It's like a day's work for a page of pencils, and then a half a day for inks. Or I could do almost 3 pages of inks, depending on how complex the pages are. Unfortunately, my tendency is always to make page like more complex. In some ways, anyway. Obviously, there's a lot of artists out there that like draw way more complex pages than I do or can.
Even though I don't draw comic book pages, I always have it in my head that if I did, I would try to have a page penciled in 10 hours. Not that I think I could draw that fast, but that would be my goal.
Yeah, I mean, when I spoke to Daniel Warren Johnson, he was saying, and I've heard this from a lot of other artists too, but Daniel was my most recent interaction with this opinion, that you really want to get a page of pencils and inks done in a day.
Wow.
Like that's what you really want.
Yeah, okay.
And that's probably the pace and he really has awesome looking pages.
Yeah, that's why they're pros. They can draw that well and that fast.
Right. And it's a matter of learning how to do that. Like, it's a matter of saying, okay, this page, only one panel has the environment.
Yep.
Here's a bunch of close-ups, or I mean, if you look at a book and the artist well enough, you know how well they can draw in a certain context, and then you look at their pages, you can tell when they're sort of like going fast and they're just sort of doing simple compositions that look good, and then when they're sort of really putting a lot of love into a page.
Yep. Tell the story first, and sometimes the panel can just be a couple heads.
Right. I mean, I know when I read, I'm like ruthless. I will like the first time I read a book, I'm really just blazing through it. Especially with certain manga, I won't even be like looking really at the art that like at all, almost.
Yeah.
You just sort of like the art is in the peripheral vision, and you're just reading the story or you're getting the plot, and then I'll go back and I'll reread it, and that's when I'm sort of really slobbering all over the art.
I'm practically the same way because I've noticed that same effect. I'll read the story and I'll go back, and in my mind I'm like, wow, I don't even think I looked at the art. I was reading the story so much that I'm sure I glanced at the art, but I didn't look at it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, I'll also just look at a lot of books. I won't necessarily read them.
Yeah.
But that's how I am when I'm really, really into a story. Reading wise. But yeah, I like rereading a lot of comics. Like I used to reread Usagi Yojimbo like over and over and over again when I was younger. Do you know that book?
No. No.
So Usagi Yojimbo is written and drawn by Stan Sakai, who is sort of a friend and letterer of Sergio Aragonés. You know him?
Yes.
So yeah, they were friends, and like so Stan Sakai lettered Gru. Do you remember that book?
I remember Gru, yeah.
Yeah, Gru is great. Well, Usagi Yojimbo is a story about a red rabbit samurai bodyguard.
I know that character then. Okay, I do remember that.
Yeah, they turned him into like a few like animated shows with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just flip through, look at the art, ignore the bothersome words. No, I mean, I don't know if you caught me. It was that when I'm reading a book that I really like, I will just like almost ignore the art and just keep on and just absolutely laser focus on the story. And then I'll go back and reread it, like and look at the art.
Bye, Kigo. See you next time. Thanks for spending your valuable time with us. All right, I think that's going to be it for me. I have to go do those chores I was talking about, but then I'll be back.
All right, Rob. Sounds good. Thanks for hanging out. I might be gone by the time you get back.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me share your stream, Connor. Appreciate it as always.
Likewise, man.
All right, so everyone else in both chats, thank you very much. I will see you again maybe later today. So have a great day.
All right, Rob. Take care.